I'm Sam Laprade, and this is An Hour to Give, and I'm so excited today to talk about the Shepherds of Good Hope Foundation. And of course, joining us is the CEO of the foundation, the one and only David Gourlay. How are you, David?
I'm good, Sam. How are you?
I'm fantastic. It's lovely to see you.
Lovely to see you too.
Now, last week, my phone was blowing up with pictures of everybody I know at Taste for Hope. Have you recovered from this incredible fundraising event?
We're still counting the dollars that came in, Sam. It was just a wonderful evening for our community to really come together and not just raise money for our programs and services to help end chronic homelessness, but also to build awareness and kind of that knowledge of who we are and the experience of an individual who is struggling with trauma and is homeless. So we really wanted to focus on both outcomes for our guests. We had over 600 people in the room at the Trillium Ballroom of the Shaw Center, and people were just really excited to be out again, enjoying each other's company, learning about Shepherds and raising money.
Let's take a step back. Let's tell everybody about the Shepherds of Good Hope, because I think a lot of people think, well, they know of it, they've heard about it, but there's quite a history there. Give us a history lesson, David.
So just in 2023, we served over 325 meals. We sheltered 2,100 people. As of next year, we're going to have 320 supportive housing rooms. That doesn't happen overnight, of course. That started 41 years ago in the basement of St. Bridget's Church in Lowertown. Father Heffernan got a knock on his door. A little boy was looking for food. He was hungry, had nowhere to go. Father Heffernan made him a meal, a soup and sandwich and a glass of water. The next day, 3 kids were at the door, and so on. And that originated the concept for us of what we used to call a soup kitchen, what we now call a community kitchen. Because, Sam, we all enjoy food. We all enjoy gathering, whether it's with family or friends over a meal. So it's really a sense of community for us. And so imagine a person who's homeless on the street. You and I are not thinking about what we're going to have for dinner tonight, but an individual who's struggling with trauma and homelessness doesn't have that luxury. So we want to create a community environment in our kitchen at 233 Murray. We're going to have a brand new one at 216 Murray as of next winter, which is really exciting for us. Open concept kitchen will be able to really partner with our celebrity chefs and chefs across the city and that kind of thing. So 41 years, and we're not just in Lowertown. We are in Canada, we're in Nepean, we're in Lowertown, and we're just east of the core. A lot of people don't know that about Shepherds of Good Hope. And those facilities that we have sort of in the suburbs are supportive housing. And that's the future of Shepherds of Good Hope. While we tackle food insecurity, while we offer overnight sheltering, very valuable service, we are focused on building housing because that's where the dignity comes in for an individual.
100%. You said it beautifully. And I think, David, when we think about somebody that might find themselves homeless today, there's a story behind that person. And you've inferred it a few times when you talk about trauma. You know, we think about addiction. We think about all of these different reasons that someone might find their home tonight being on the streets. I'm hoping that they find their way to the Shepherds of Good Hope. But each and every one of those stories is so unique. And I think I'll take myself for example. 30 years ago, I probably would have painted everybody with the same brush. It's just not the case, David.
It's about the stigma and the stereotypes, and it's about the kind of the locked-in views that an individual or a group of individuals may have, regardless of whether you're in Ottawa or wherever you may be, about a person who has trauma. We have to understand, Sam, that homelessness is the result of trauma. No one is making a conscious choice to give up their home, give up their job, give up their family, and live on the street. It's the result of a life-altering incident. It could be a divorce, it could be a job loss, it could be a death in the family, where an individual loses their coping mechanisms, they lose the support around them. It's a very unfortunate situation. It's really hard for anybody to prevent that from happening. An individual ends up on the street. And that's where a Shepherds of Good Hope comes into play, where we offer the care, the compassion, the services, and the programs through our amazing frontline workers. We have 280 frontline workers, 230 volunteers that are with us 24/7 offering these services in the community. We really want to close the dignity gap in our city. where we want individuals in our community. That's why Taste for Hope is so amazing, because we have that opportunity to educate and inform. So a person sees an individual through their homelessness. When they see an individual lying on the street, half naked, who may have urinated themselves, they don't have that stigma and stereotype of, I'm going to turn away from that. I'm going to do something about it. That's what we ask the community to do, Sam, each and every day. It could be a financial donation. It could be coming in and volunteering. Or it could just simply be calling us, visiting our website, and learning about us as an organization, the care and compassion, again, that we offer, as well as the programs and services that we have. We want, ultimately, Sam, to help individuals see that for themselves. Not for us,
Right.
for themselves.
Yeah, beautifully said. And I can't help but really think about how we view homelessness changed definitely during the pandemic. I remember being on the air when I did my radio show, and somebody called in and said, just to let you know, there's nowhere for people who are homeless to go to the bathroom except for the shelters.
That's right.
That really struck home for me. That's dignity. That's dignity. But I found the shift when we talk about supportive housing and supporting supportive housing and housing first really happened maybe 10, 15 years ago. We started to really have these brave conversations. But I love the Shepherds isn't just talking about it. You're doing something about it, creating these in the community.
We really are. And there are days when we have our executive and senior leadership meetings, I feel like we're a real estate company, because we're constantly talking about where are there opportunities for us to grow and expand. Growth and expansion is part of our DNA, because we know the need is in the community. So again, we need to have the emergency shelter services, we need to have the food and security services, but we need a balance with the housing. So the more housing we can establish, like 216 Murray is really exciting for us. 48 new supportive housing units will be open as of next February. And we're looking at other options and other opportunities in the community as we grow, because we want to house people. People who are housed is about human dignity. And so I often say, when I speak in public, Sam, I talk about the fact that the opposite of homelessness is not just housing. I really believe that. It's human dignity.
Right.
Because an individual walks into a room, they have a door, they have a lock, they have a key, they have furniture, they have a kitchenette, they have a bathroom. It's theirs. They have that for the rest of their natural lives. Unless they find their stability and they choose to leave, and the family, some people reunite with their family, that kind of thing. But when we house people, it's not for a year or 2 or 5 or 10, it's for the rest of their natural lives, so that we can help them stabilize themselves and live a life of dignity.
And we talked about, you did it so beautifully, talking about volunteering and giving. It made me think of the trifecta of philanthropy, that time, talent, and treasure. If someone's listening and you're inspiring them, and maybe they saw all the great pictures from Taste for Hope, and they want to get involved in the next one, how can they do that?
So it's everything from, consider a financial donation. It costs us $5 to provide a warm meal. Breakfast, lunch, or dinner. $5 is a Starbucks coffee, a couple of Tim Hortons coffees.
Right.
Think of it that way. Come in and volunteer with us. When you volunteer with Shepherds of Good Hope, you have direct line of sight into the work that we do. You can come in and volunteer in our kitchen. You can come and volunteer in our supportive housing facilities. Visit our website and learn about our programs. Learn about our transitional emergency shelter program. Learn about our supportive housing programs. Learn about our food and security programs. Build that knowledge base so that, again, we can help you understand the journey of homelessness and how we can end chronic homelessness together as a community.
What's a myth you want to bust today about the work that's being done at the Shepherds?
That a person who experiences chronic homelessness has no future. There is every individual in our community, regardless of their economic, social status, has a future. Regardless of their age, regardless of anything else, they have a future. A person who is homeless, chronically homeless, don't give up on them. Don't assume that that's going to be the rest of their life, because they can reconnect themselves to society, to family, to friends, to employment, whatever it may be. And that's, by the way, their choice, not ours. It's not us. It's not us to judge an individual and what their success is. That is for them to determine and for us to support that. we would ask of that for our family, our friends, Sam. So why can't we apply that standard to an individual who is experiencing chronic homelessness?
You know, I see you today. I think about all the different roles you've held in this community. Is this a role that kind of combines all of what you've done before in your skill set? Like, you just seem to be, very pleased and happy in this role.
Well, thank you, Sam. I appreciate that. I think that, you know, this opportunity and this role that I have has really connected my values of, again, human dignity, compassion, empathy, to a community that asks for that support. And it's been such a pleasure for me, and continues to be a pleasure, to support the organization in any way that I can. We love fundraising. We love going out in the community. We love talking about all kinds of ways that people can connect with us. And I think that we live in such a connected community, and the opportunity for myself and the team too. We have a full team of fundraisers, and every single member of our team, Sam, in the foundation connects with donors day in and day out, from prospecting to stewardship to building new relationships. The whole team is in on this together. The foundation plays a critical role in supporting Shepherds of Good Hope as our beneficiary. And we're very excited day in and day out to see what else can we do to connect the cause of chronic homelessness to philanthropists and individuals who want to make a difference in our community.
Beautifully said again, and we've got an opportunity today to meet a number of people that are helping on that team.
Yes.
So David Gorley, thank you so much for everything you do for
Thank
our
you,
community, and this role of CEO with the Shepherds of Good Hope Foundation looks good on you.
Thank you, Sam. Appreciate it so much.
Thank you so much. David Gorley joining us today. Lots of great representatives from the Shepherds of Good Hope and some of the friends that helped them along the way joining us here on An Hour to Give. I'm Sam Laprade. Come on back. That's great. Hi, we're back on An Hour to Give. I'm Sam Laprade. Thanks so much for joining us. I want to welcome our next two guests. Stephen LaSalle is joining us, and Sophia Borston. Hello to you both.
How are you?
Lovely to have you here. Stephen, I'm going to start with you. What's your role? Why are you here today?
Well, I'm an executive chef of an organization called Lionhearts. So I've been had the pleasure of working with Shepherds for many years, probably going back to 2014 as a participating chef in Taste for Hope. In the hotel, I was a chef of the Novotel, Ondas Hotel, the Metcalf Hotel, and had the pleasure of being an invited chef in their event, and then kind of got involved in programming at Murray Street, whether it's bringing my team to serve dinner, to take over for the volunteers on Volunteer Appreciation Night, or when we were opening Cook-Up Bistro. Without an open restaurant, have my cooks cook for guests, being the guests at the Murray Street Shelter. And then since then, I've shifted my career a little bit, so I'm in nonprofit now too. I'm working for an organization called Lionhearts, where we do food and goods recovery from excess food, from food service, from retailers, restaurants, and then we rescue it and then distribute it out to about 50 to 70 community partners across the city, Shepherds being one of them. And we're building a bit of a meal program too, kind of vertically integrated into that food recovery. And so this year, I asked David, hey, can we still participate as a chef? So as you know, we weren't a restaurant, but we wanted to show what we could do with rescued food, with the great donor partnerships we had. So I was back at Taste for Hope, and I think I tallied it up before today. I think I'm at 9 Taste for Hopes.
Wow, that's incredible.
So it was really special for me to continue with Taste for Hope and supporting Shepherds in that way, now that I'm kind of in an adjacent field.
That's amazing. Yeah. I need a little bit of a nap after that.
Yeah.
Because you've been involved, that's very inspiring, and you've obviously put a lot of effort in, which is wonderful. Yeah. We're going to meet your friend Sophia. Sophia, tell me a little bit about how you're involved with the Shepherds of Good Hope.
So I sit at the table of champions. I've known Dave for a while, and obviously with restaurants nearby, we know the issues and we've experienced them firsthand. And so Dave invited me to be part of this and help spread out the word of all his causes and all the great things they do, and maybe spread the word of what homelessness is and creating that understanding far from what you see on a daily basis, and that there's a person behind and kind of what is behind their story and how they got there, and it's sometimes more complicated than we think so. And so just spreading that word around.
I'm so glad you said that. I'm so glad. You have a really cool job daytime, your day gig, if you will. You work for some restaurants that are some of my favorites. So give them a shout out. Who are you working with?
Okay, so Zach's Diner, we have 5 in the city now. Then the Grand Pizzeria, Metropolitan Brasserie, and our newest endeavors with our Starling, Apothecary Lounge, and Rooftop. And we keep busy. That's
wonderful. And I love the fact you're together on this, because I think it really does take a community to come together. And the fact that you're partnered today talking about the work that you're doing at Shepherd's is wonderful. There's lots of different people that have to come to the table, the literal table, if you will, to make sure the Shepherd's are taken care of, and all the people that are looking for support there. What is the most rewarding part of the work that you do, Stephen?
Well, we get to support organizations that are working front lines, feeding and caring for people, and giving them a little bit of extra help, who are giving other people a little bit of extra help. But I really love coming together with other people with the same passion. We were talking before about some food recovery initiatives going on in the city with Ottawa Tourism and some of our other caterers and restaurants, and how we can pull together little pieces, whether it's a school baking muffins for me with some bananas I had, or a catering event at a museum, pulling those together, and we put that into a meal, and we deliver that to the Shepherd's Oaks residents. But of building all those connections of people that also care for people to give a little bit of help. So that's kind of what fuels me.
And I love that your background, marketing, advertising, you're really trying to promote these restaurants. But I think it's really important that you're looking at this community wholly.
Correct.
You're not just looking at, okay, this is I've got to get some copy to someone today. You're worried and justly so about the vulnerable people in this community. I mean, it is tragic to see how our city's changed over the last number of years. But I have hope, Sophia. Do you?
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
I think one of my biggest experiences in the tourist areas is a bit of a misconception of, yes, you see that, and usually the people you noticed more are the ones that are struggling the most. The behavior is not common, you're not used to it. There's something that's standing out. And of course, the humane thing and the natural response is to grab what you have, take $5 and give it to the person who's there. And that's where the problem begins, in my view. Because despite the intention there is very nice and it's a great intention, sometimes the result is not what you think you're doing by handing off those $5. Sometimes, you can cause more of a problem, or you can just create more troubles in a way. And as Dave was mentioning, with $5, he can create a meal.
Right.
So an individual is not capable of doing that. And so obviously the message is not to stop giving those $5, but it's to put them in the institutions that can actually make more of this money. And as you're saying, you're providing now some food. So sometimes the holistic approach is not only about food. Those $5 now do not need to be spent on food, can be spent on mental health, can be spent in medical health, and all these other things that the person might require that your $5 giving them directly will not satisfy.
Well, I can see why you're a champion. Because I think, but what you just said so eloquently, to be honest with you, you're helping someone today that didn't think that way. Just so you know. I think there's a lot of people in this community that still need to understand that $5 probably will go to something that will do more harm. That's not going to be part of the down payment for a home. But if they're the Shepherd's of Good Hope, very much that could be the start of a new life, right? Yeah.
And even if the $5, don't get me wrong, will go for food, an individual cannot stretch those $5 in the way that Shepherds of a Good Hope can do. And that's the part of the social responsibility, right? If you're going to give where it matters, give where you help. Not where it's, because you're seeing it, you feel better for sure, but you're not doing better by immediately handing off that money.
Yeah. And Steve, I'm going to tell you something. I am the worst cook you will ever meet, ever. I am not talented in the kitchen at all, so I have a great respect for people that are. And I think that the analogy about bringing people together because of food and how the Shepherds started, it's that a little guy was just looking for a meal. It's not lost on me how beautiful that is, and we're still all gathering around food. Is that part of why you do what you do?
Well, yeah, even going back to when I was a hotel chef or opening a restaurant, you make food to make people happy. You know, sometimes you make fancy food, sometimes you make a really amazing breakfast, but the goal is to make someone happy with nourishment. And so cooking on every single level is to make another person happy. There's you're providing nourishment to another human being for their happiness and health. So whether that's in a hotel dining room or a diner or a shepherd's soup kitchen, there's an act of caring for someone through food. It's universal. We all need to eat. We need food and nourishment for happiness and health. And Shepherds helps a lot of people receive that requirement to be happy and healthy.
Yeah. It's incredible to think about all of the challenges that this city has faced, but this is one where I don't know about you, I feel everyone is really united about the vulnerable people in our community, because that could be my brother, it could be my dad, it could be your uncle, it doesn't matter. These are all probably brothers and sons. Well, they're definitely sons, brothers and sons and husbands and uncles. And I think that part, people have got that part, I think, Sophia. Would you agree?
Yeah, I believe so. To a degree, I think there's a bit of the, pointing fingers, saying some areas are struggling. That doesn't help. I think it's realizing that if your city's struggling, it doesn't matter what sector it is, this is part of your problem, because it will trickle. It will trickle to businesses outside your area. And so I think that's the major focus, that some people will say, well, I don't go there anymore because there's a homeless person. And I'm like, well, not going there and just spreading that message is not doing any good. As opposed to, if you find this a difficult situation, how do you actively try to make this better, right? And more than just talking about it.
I love action. You're
Correct.
all about action. Stephen's all about action. What would you say, Stephen, if someone's listening right now and they're like you, maybe that you were a decade ago, and I just want to get involved, inspire them to take action, Stephen?
Yeah, well, volunteering. It's a little bit of extra that goes a long way. And there's many different ways to do it. It's either cooking, or maybe it's in helping resource something. There's many organizations that they need funding, they need resources, but also time too. If you can give a little bit of time, maybe it's 2 hours a week. Since joining an organization in food security, I'm just blown away by the impact of volunteers, of volunteer power, how powerful volunteer power is, and the amount of care that it drives in this city. So kudos to all the volunteers, and thank you. So that's what I would ask to get out there. Yeah.
Perfect. And if there's a business listening and they're thinking, that's not my problem, speak to them, Sophia.
As I mentioned, I think anything that happens in your city is your problem. And it's easy and a bit selfish to, guide yourself for things that are affecting the neighbor or the next neighborhood. But when you come to project yourself out to the world as a tourism destination, it will affect you. And so I think, every business needs to be on board on this subject and needs to help out and needs to encourage the next person to do it if they are already doing it.
You two are incredibly inspiring. Thank you so much for joining us. I think each of your contributions, I'm hoping we've doubled or tripled that today by other people being inspired as well. Thank you, Sophia.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Appreciate it very much. Sophia Borston joining us today, and Stephen LaSalle. We're not done yet. More information about how you can get involved at the Shepherds of Good Hope. Stay with us. Well, I feel like I need to warn you. I think you're going to be inspired again. We're talking all things Shepherds of Good Hope Foundation today, and I wanted to welcome to the show Colin Corkum and Gabrielle Morrison. Hello to you both.
Hello. Hi.
Lovely to see you.
You as well.
You both have really interesting roles. We're going to start with Gabrielle.
Sure,
What's your role?
My role is case manager at Hope Living in Canada, so we're supportive housing. I started in frontline. Well, really I started as a student actually through my placement through Algonquin. I took community and justice services and did my placement at Hope Living, where I still am now. And shortly after my frontline position, I moved into case management. Yeah.
Good for you. That's
Love
amazing.
it. I
I'm a
love it.
fellow alum of Algonquin as well.
Okay,
I took a
yeah.
different program, but
Yeah.
go Algonquin.
Yes,
Yeah,
definitely.
fantastic. Colin, how about you? What's your role?
So I'm a manager downtown, and sort of like Gabrielle, I've done a lot of different things. I was in charge of our harm reduction programs. I ran some of our housing programs. So I've kind of been around.
Wow, that's fantastic. And your current role?
Yeah. So currently I'm on the administrative side, supporting the staff through our human resources department.
Yeah, I love that. And you call it people and culture,
We do.
which I love.
Yeah.
What's with human resources? I like people and culture because that's what it's about.
yeah.
If you get to choose your own name, you might as well make it interesting, right?
Exactly.
There you
Yeah.
go. Absolutely, that's fantastic. And Gabrielle, I love to give people a different perspective.
Sure, yeah.
So take me back to the Gabrielle that started coming out of Algonquin College,
Yeah.
and take me to the Gabrielle of today. How have things changed?
Absolutely. Well, definitely my first week going into Shepherds of Good Hope, I wasn't really educated on homelessness in general, addiction, mental health. Like that's why I took the program, was to educate myself further. And so really going into Shepherds of Good Hope, I just was kind of walking in blankly. I didn't really know what to expect. And I think in general, people have a lot of stigma and stereotypes surrounding people who experience chronic homelessness. And I'm extremely grateful that I was able to leave that at the door when I walked in, and I have learned so much. I am in love with my job. Yeah, I couldn't have asked for a better job.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And talk to me a little bit, Colin, about the work that you're doing, because you would want to ensure that the people and the culture are both feeling supported and strong, so that you have great and wonderful people like Gabrielle that stay for a very long time.
Well, and so as an employer, I mean, one of the things about homelessness is it doesn't discriminate.
Right.
So we try and keep, we like to focus on diversity of staff, diversity of experiences, and we get that through our volunteers as well too. We have volunteers of all backgrounds, and that really adds to the depth of services we can provide to people who are experiencing homelessness.
And when you say case manager, so that's a term that might be new for somebody.
Sure, yeah.
So tell me exactly what that means.
Sure. So I do intake. So I will get referrals mostly from the shelter or through hospitals or just community. People who are at risk of homelessness, possibly people who live with mental health issues, physical disabilities, and we set them up with housing. Yeah.
And housing is everything.
Everything.
Colin. I mean, all of your history as well with the organization. Talk to me a little bit about the direction that Shepherds is going and why that's so important.
Well, I mean, it's very important, especially when I switched over, because I was initially in our emergency shelter, and when I started in housing and I saw the transition people make from living that, it's traumatic. They're experiencing trauma on the streets. So to all of a sudden see them for the first time, like we had this gentleman, I remember after his first month there, he put together a bookshelf, and he got everybody in the building to come see the bookshelf he put together, because he was just so proud of it and to take ownership of it. And we reached out to donors, and people gave him all kinds of books and for his bookshelf, and it was a really beautiful moment. Or we had a woman who, in her wellness journey, her kids were no longer with her, but she was able to buy Christmas gifts for her children for the first time in 5 years because she'd stabilized in housing. And so we're seeing reunifications of family in housing. So it's when you see housing, you're not just giving someone four walls. You're giving someone agency. You're giving someone family reunification. You're seeing like just these magical moments that working in housing was something that I think I will keep with me for the rest of my life.
And speaking about keeping something with me for the rest of my life, is I interviewed a woman by the name of Stephanie, and we both grew up in the Valley.
Okay.
And as Stephanie sat across from me and did this interview, I realized that we were only one decision apart. That literally one decision,
Yep.
I could have been Stephanie and Stephanie could have been me.
Yep.
And I think I want that for everybody, Gabriel. I want
Yeah.
everybody to understand. I don't want everyone to think that they're close to homelessness,
Of
but I want
course
everyone
not.
to understand that there, by the grace of God,
Yeah.
go I, that it could be any one of us.
You, your family, your friends, it can be so unexpected. You could be living such a normal, societal normal life, and all of a sudden, like it's gone. And I see a lot of that specifically in my program. So many brilliant, intelligent people, and just they had bad luck of the draw, something happened, mental health issues come in. It's yeah.
And I think back to, I worked in the sector for 10 years, and I left in 2013. I mean, what's happened in the last 11 years? I remember hearing the numbers for addiction in terms of opioids in 2013 and thinking, well, it can't get worse than that. Well, was I proven wrong, Colin? Right. So all of these different issues, and then you layer a pandemic on there, and you layer all these things. You've all come through a very, very challenging time. Do you ever pause and kind of reflect as a team that this is tough work?
We try to. It's the challenge being is there's always a new challenge, and I think that's one of the things that motivates us for the work we do. Is there's always something that you're working towards overcoming, and the amazing thing is seeing the people that use our services and see what they are able, like as we're going through it, they're going through it too, and so to see them overcome these challenges, and the pandemic was just a really tough time on the entire world at large, but our population took that really hard as well too. So,
for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, it was very, very heartbreaking. And when you think back to somebody that maybe you saw in the early days, and you see them now, even just that response. Oh, I felt that.
There's a huge change. There's a huge change. I think a lot of people who come in, especially if they're coming directly from shelter straight to supportive housing, especially if they've been using shelter services for a very long time, they have these expectations coming into supportive housing. Even like I have a lady. And she talks about just the fact of having a key to be able to lock her door, a private bathroom, blankets, a pillow, like these things that every single one of us have and take for granted every day means so much to her. But even the behavior in general from shelter to supportive housing, especially people who have been homeless for a long time, I think you're not used to living in like a home type of environment, right? So I see a lot of people able to look back and now they're just, Sorry,
I feel it. I feel it from you. But and how do you, on the flip side? I remember 6 months into working in the homeless sector, and just on a casual night, it was a really, really cold night, and I thought, I'm going to go have a nice hot bath. And I turned on the water, and I started to cry. And it just hit me that I just left my workplace, probably worked 10 hours there that day, left my workplace, drove to, Barhaven, turned on the water, got in my own bathtub, and it just became one of those moments where I realized, taking things for granted that I had, but also that this was tough work. How do you ensure you're supporting, and compassion fatigue and those types of things are not sort of overcoming the team?
So I mean, a lot of things we do is, I do a lot of gratitude exercises myself, something I reflect on with my family. We really like to talk about self-care, and working with your colleagues. It would be me saying, hey, Gabrielle, are you okay? Like, do you need some assistance? And so that's kind of the big thing is from a gratitude perspective, I like to think of it as, if I had someone in my family who was experiencing homelessness, and because of their challenges they couldn't live with me just because I couldn't do that, I'd like to know that there's someone in the community who's going to care for them compassionately like we do, and for that that allows me to get past some of the challenging behaviors to be, if this was my brother, if this was my uncle, if this was my neighbor, how would I want someone to treat them when I couldn't? And how would I want them to work with them? And that kind of gratitude exercise makes it a lot more fulfilling to work with the population.
Yeah, for sure. Do you do gratitude exercises?
Of course, yeah, as Colin said, with the team.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
something that we have to practice often. I think it's easy to have compassion fatigue. Yeah.
I remember a day recently where somebody said to me, do you know the Shepherds of Good Hope has more supportive housing than shelter space? And how that seemed a decade ago, that seemed such a lofty goal, but it was realized. As a staff member at Shepherds of Good Hope, do you realize how special that is?
Oh, absolutely, yes. And I think even our residents themselves, a lot of our residents have been there 10 plus years. So Hope Living itself has been there going on 11 years, I believe, this July. And before that, some of our residents live downtown. And yeah, hearing their experience and stories transitioning from shelter to supportive housing is beautiful. Yeah,
Inspire someone that maybe is watching today to become a member of your team.
absolutely.
So what I would say is that so people get that opportunity to affect someone else's life. And you never know where your shadow may fall. So if you are working with someone, it doesn't even have to be like even volunteering, even in a administrative role like myself I'm doing. There's such minute ways in which you can affect the trajectory of someone's day, someone's life, that you'll carry through. So during the pandemic, when we were really struggling, knowing that I was doing something meaningful and that I was supporting some of our staff that were doing something so meaningful is an amazing experience that I would wish everyone could experience.
That was beautifully done, beautifully done. And what would you say to someone that maybe is thinking about their opportunity to volunteer?
Yeah,
or to
absolutely.
We only have about 30 seconds.
Okay, sure, no problem. Let me be quick
No
then.
pressure.
Yeah, to piggyback off what Colin said, I think, yeah, just realizing the opportunity that you have to make such a huge impact. And again, it doesn't have to be something huge, even just educating yourself. Most people have a cell phone or some sort of technology to be able to educate themselves. And I think just sharing information is huge. Like, there is a lot of stigma and misinformation, and I think that we're fully able to fix that.
For sure.
Yeah.
Thanks for inspiring me today, you two.
Of course.
Gabriel and Colin joining us today. When we come back, we're going to spend more time talking about the Shepherds of Good Hope Foundation and maybe find ways that you can help. Stay with us on An Hour to Give. You guys are so good. I promised you lots of great information about the Shepherds of Good Hope Foundation, and I'm delivering. I'm Sam Laprade. Once again, this is An Hour to Give. We're going to welcome two of our next guests, Bernie Forrestal and Kim Van Herk. Hello, you two.
Hello.
Lovely to chat with you.
Thanks for
Lovely to
inviting
chat
us.
with you as well. Tell me a little bit about your role, because you've been with Ottawa Inner City Health a long time,
Yes.
but that's a good thing.
Yeah. So my name's Kim Van Herk. I'm a mental health nurse and the mental health team lead for Ottawa Inner City Health. I've been with Inner City almost since the beginning, about 5 years after Inner City joined. So I've been with them about 17 years.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. Boy, you could write a book probably, right?
Yeah.
Yes, or 2 or 3. Yes, yeah, I can imagine. Bernie Forrestal, what's your role at the Shepherds of Good Hope?
I'm the Senior Manager of Communications there. I've been working at Shepherds of Good Hope for about 1.5 years now.
Wow.
And just love it, and seeing the change that we are able to make in people's lives, and people like Kim and her colleagues are able to make every single minute of every single day in people's lives.
It really is incredible, and the partnership between the two is so strong. I've shared a couple times, I worked in the homeless sector for about a decade, and I know those partnerships were key. We couldn't do anything by ourselves.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about the partnership, Kim.
Yeah. So I mean, Inner City and Shepherds are kind of. I always kind of describe us as best friends, right? So we need each other. We are kind of a symbiotic relationship because Shepherds, is really providing care to the most unwell people. And so because they're providing care to the most unwell, they need healthcare providers to help care for the people that are coming. And then from Inner City's perspective, we're healthcare providers, we're not landlords or building owners. We don't own any of the buildings where we provide care. So collaborating together helps us be able to really meet our clients where they're at.
Yeah, so important,
Yeah.
Bernie. Over the years, I can only imagine from a communications perspective how important it is to get the message out about Shepherds, that you're not just focused on the downtown core, that this is an issue that we can all have a part to play, whether we live in Orleans or Stittsville or Barhaven. I mean, this is somebody, we all have a role to play here.
Yes, and if you come into our supportive housing facilities across the city, Sam, you'll see nurses from OICH, or Ottawa Inner City Health, care for the Royal Ottawa that are, if you came into the building, you wouldn't know who's a Shepherds employee or not. They work, we work seamlessly together. And I'm going to embarrass Kim a little bit here. From my office windows a few weeks ago, Kim provides healthcare, but she also provides kindness. Aww. And I saw her walking down the street with someone who was experiencing homelessness, with her arms around his shoulder and just talking to him like he was a human being. And when I see Kim and her colleagues work in that environment, it's really nice to see, and it's a key step for people to maybe one day exit chronic homelessness.
Absolutely. And we think about the healthcare system in this country. I mean, that could be a whole show. But when we think about someone that's really vulnerable and they wouldn't know how to find a family doctor, they wouldn't understand how to, go about some of these things because of the trauma that they've experienced, maybe it's addiction, you're there to pick up the pieces. And I think that's wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, there's the piece of they wouldn't know. There's also the piece of people won't provide care to them.
Oh my gosh, you're going to break my heart.
So, and in fairness to family doctors, in fairness with the health system being as overloaded as it is, with people like only having 15 minutes of time to give, with our clients, like some of the people that we care for in the Oaks or some of our other supportive housing buildings that have diabetes, hypertension, COPD, schizophrenia, like multiple really complex health issues, they need a unique model of healthcare. And so this is what we do. But yes, the healthcare system right now is at this really breaking point where I think also when you think about why we're seeing more people become homeless, part of that is because the healthcare system is so broken. You see people who their partner dies, their wife that was taking care of them for years, and that when they don't have their wife anymore, that they